Welcome to ACLU's First Wednesdays program. This is a series of discussions on timely topics where we bring in people who can give us different perspectives many times on that topic, and we can have a very civil and productive exchange of ideas on the given subject. I'm Reba Boyd-Wooden. I am on the board of ACLU of Indiana, and I am the Vice President for Education this year. So that's why I have helped set up these programs. I'd also like to introduce Gil Holmes, who is in the room back here, who is Executive Director of ACLU of Indiana, and Lori Rice in the back, who is a valuable assistant who does most of the work on getting these programs together. So again, I'd like to welcome you today. We are taping the program, so you may watch it or tell other people who didn't get to come today that if they will go into the www.aclu-in.org, they can watch this program in a week or so, and they can watch our previous programs on immigration, school reform, bullying, and some other topics if they'd like to do that. Also, there's literature in the back of the room if you are not already an ACLU of Indiana member. We would very much like to have you. ACLU of Indiana does very valuable work defending the Constitution in Indiana, and we certainly need that. So your support would be greatly appreciated. Now I'd like to introduce Jenny Runovich from WTHR, who has very graciously agreed to moderate another panel discussion. She moderated our last one for us, so we want to thank Jenny for taking her time to come over and help us out today. So I'll turn it over to Jenny. Thank you.
Thank you, Reba. Thanks everyone for coming out today. Again, my name is Jenny Runovich. I'm the weekend anchor and reporter during the week at Channel 13. And first of all, I think I'd like to have each of the panelists introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about your background as it pertains to the topic today. Terry, you can start.
Okay, my name is Terry Jett, and I'm chair of the Political Science Department at Butler University. I have a PhD in public policy, a bachelor's degree in ethnic studies, and a master's in public administration. And I would say my most important connection to this topic has to do with the experiences of my son, actually in one of the township school districts here, and how I had to advocate for him and also resort to certain measures to prevent him from being basically sent into a system that did not have his best needs in mind. And so I am thankful to be asked to be on this panel, and I will be talking about that a little bit more, also discussing issues of systematic marginalization and oppression, especially that which targets students of color in particular. Thank you.
I'm Natalie Douglas, Director of Respect Education, Inc. Respect Education, Inc. Is an entity developed to lead teachers in schools in the development of a productive attitude for students. My background, my educational background doesn't really apply to this. I have a bachelor's degree from Indiana University in another area. I did have a minor in psych and a minor in soc. I've always been fascinated with sociological behavior. I've read extensively on behaviors and misbehaviors, and work exclusively with elementary schools to show them, give them the tools to lead students to a productive attitude rather than the destructive attitude that leads them into inappropriate behavior. Dr. Eric Byrne has said that by the time children are 8 years old, they have come to conclusions about who they are. Dr. William Glasser tells us that by 7th grade, more than 50% of students see the principals and the teachers as being their adversaries. If we are going to catch this early, if we are going to direct students to a productive life, we have to start very young. 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's marvelous the things people are doing as mentors to students who have already lost their way. And I would not discourage this for a moment, but we can reduce the need for mentors and the need for bringing kids back into a productive lifestyle if we start really young and devote serious attention to it.
Thank you. My name is Brother S.A. Tenenbay. I'm an employee of Indianapolis Public Schools. I work as a behavior specialist, in other words, in youth or students or scholars having difficulties doing, keeping up their work schedule. They may send them to my room to be redirected and maybe assisted, mentored with their studies. And if they're having behavior problems or dress code problems, maybe they may not wear a belt to school or whatever, or have on the wrong shirt, I call the parents and let them know that the child is out of dress code and what the child needs to be in conformity. As far as the behavior is concerned, if the behavior is not severe enough to where the student is suspended by the principal, then maybe I'll spend some time counseling with the student and trying to redirect the student and get the student in compliance with the rules and regulations of the school. I have a background, I have an associate's degree in communications / public speaking from Ball State University. I have a history of working in corrections, but before working as a contract employee of the Department of Correction, Indiana Department of Correction, I also was a resident for at least 15 and a half years. So I authored a book called Psycho Personality, designed to instruct concerned persons, entities, how to break or show their participants, students, or class, how individuals can break the cycle of negative and counterproductive thinking and behaving, because we know our thinking, our behavior derives from our thinking. So we have to think it first before we act. And so what I try to do is help young people change, and adults as well, because I still do volunteer work with the Indiana Department of Corrections. Occasionally I go in and participate in religious programs. But when I worked as a contractor for the Indiana Department of Correction, I was assigned to deliver 3 different types of professional services. And mind you, this was after my 15 years of incarceration. And after I'd been out for 7 years and in the community doing public speeches here and there, everywhere, the department contracted me to come in and oversee their More Science Temperate Religious program, which I'm a member of, been a member of since 1985. They also wanted me to perform motivational presentations for their pre-release / reentry programs. And thirdly, they trained me in a cognitive self-change program called Thinking for Change, which was part of the group that introduced it into the Indiana Department of Corrections prison population. And so that's my background. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Bill Glick, and since 1998 I've been privileged to be Executive Director of the Indiana Juvenile Justice Task Force. The task force is one of the, if not the oldest nonprofit organization doing what we do, which is niche work with youth and families who are impacted by the juvenile justice system in Indiana. And '73, when the task force began, there was no Runaway and Homeless Youth Act. There was no Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. There were no youth service bureaus. So Indiana actually was very progressive in that regard. And those of you who know your history of youth work on the federal level know that it was actually Senator Birch Bayh, Evan Bayy's dad, who introduced both of those pieces of legislation. So we always say that Indiana has a proud tradition of, in a sense, it seems a little bit controversial to say Indiana had a leading role on the federal and national level, given what we sometimes see today. The task force today provides services to young people and their families who are impacted by the juvenile justice system through our Family Support Services program, which provides home-based therapeutic services to young people who are first having contact with the juvenile justice system, and for young people who are returning from the deep end of the system, that is the juvenile correctional facilities. We also provide a first offender shoplifting program, shoplifting prevention and intervention program in Lake County. We are currently involved in developing a truancy prevention and intervention program here in Marion County. We also are the grantee for a network of runaway and homeless youth centers in 3 rural counties through a federal grant. We're also the home of AIM, which is aftercare for the incarcerated through mentoring, which focuses on mentoring young people who are in the juvenile correctional facilities throughout Indiana. In addition to which, we have a contract to provide training and technical assistance with the Indiana Department of Correction Division of Youth Services. We have a broad focus. We have full-time staff throughout the state. We work primarily in Lake County and Elkhart County, Madison, Randolph, Marion counties, and our 3 sub-grantees for runaway and homeless youth in the rural communities are in Wells County, Huntington, and Johnson and Morgan counties. And I have a background in working with youth that goes back now over 30 years. And my background is similar to those folks. I won't go into the details of that academic experience. But just suffice it to say, I've been around young people are my passion. I've been around this work for over 30 years.
Thank you all very much. I think, first of all, so everyone's on the same page, I'd like to get a brief definition of what we're talking about, this school-to-prison pipeline. Bill, if you'd give us a brief description of what does that mean?
Thank you. The school-to-prison pipeline is a term that has come to be used as a result of the number of arrests that have occurred within schools in the United States, primarily middle and high schools, but at some point also in the elementary schools, that appears to be an avenue from school to the juvenile court, to detention, and to corrections, and that disproportionately impacts, as Terry has already said, disproportionately impacts youth of color, and primarily disproportionately impacts male youth of color, to the point where currently